All right. So, um, grade nines next year in grade 10, you're gonna um, look into solving systems of equations. And they're gonna teach you three different ways to do so, I believe, um, through graphing, substitution, and elimination. I'm gonna teach you two of the three ways. Um, and so this lesson is about solving a system of equations graphically. So what does it mean for a solution of a system to occur? Well, we know what an equation is, and as we can see, these are linear equations. And they're linear because when we graph them, they are straight lines. Now, it says here that the solution of a system of equation is the intersection point of two graphs. So a solution is where a set of coordinates or um, a point in specific satisfies that equation. And to look at it graphically, we would look at the intersection point. So these are two examples of solutions to systems of equations. So if you take a look here, the solution to this system of equation, so your solution is, and our intersection point is 2 comma 1. So solution to this system of equations is this point. And then over here on this side, our solution to this system of equation is, and if we look at our intersection point, it's at 3 or 4, 3 comma 8. So 3 comma 8. Well, what does that mean in real life in this situation? That means given 3 miles, it says the total cost is going to be 8. Now, I don't know what it's talking about, but I'm assuming gas. So for every um, three, it says number of miles. So for every, or these systems, so yellow car and blue car, um, are or spend the same amount of money, which is $8, let's say, um, on 3 miles of gas. So that's basically what it means, is that both those cars at 3 miles of 3 miles will spend about $8 on gas. Okay, so that's what the system or the solution to the system means. Now, how do I do this graphically? Well, first things first is I need to make sure that each of these equations are in the form y equals mx plus b. And if you remember from what I taught you guys this year, and you're going to talk about it again next year, so don't worry if it's still something that you don't understand, but y equals mx plus b, where we discussed um, how my m is my slope and your b is your y-intercept. So if I know what my slope and y-intercept is, it's so much easier to graph these equations. So m is your slope and b is your y-intercept. So we're going to make sure that all of these are in that form. To do so, we need to um, isolate for y. So we need to get y all by itself. So if we take a look here, this one's a little bit easier. For my first equation, x plus y equals 8. Well, to get y by itself, I just need to subtract x from both sides. So minus x from both sides. And what you end up getting is y equals, because x and x minus x is 0, so y equals, and I'm going to put the x in front just because I want it to be written the same way as my slope y-intercept form. So slope goes first, so negative x plus 8, because that was a positive 8. Okay, so now my equation looks like it's in this form. I'm going to do the same thing here, but this time I'm going to isolate for y. Well, first, before I isolate for y, I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. I want to get y by itself, so I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. Again, you guys have done this already this year, so we're just expanding on these topics. This becomes 0. And what am I left with? I am left with, sorry, grade 9s. I'm just going to move this over here. I'll just put it right here. So what I am left with is -2, because that negative is still with the 2, -2y, and then I'm going to put the -3 in front because I want the x to be in the front of the equation just to be consistent. So -3x plus 14. Okay, now y is still not by itself. What I need to do to both sides is divide by -2 because I was multiplying by -2. What I do to one side, I actually have to do to every single thing on the other side. Okay, so because I divided this one side by -2, I'm going to divide everything on the other side by -2. Now these guys are my opposites, okay, or -2 divided by -2 is equal to 1. And I am left with 1y, so you're left with 1y, -3x divided by -2. So I'm just going to leave it. Negative divided by negative is positive. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually write it as a fraction. So I'm going to keep it as a fraction form. So it's 3/2. And then 14 divided by a -2 is -7. So there's my equation. So now for both of these equations, I have my slope and my y-intercept. Okay, well, how do I graph that? I'm going to remind you how we graph that. So if I just move this down here, and I copy this and move it down here. So I'm going to graph these two equations. I'm going to make one color and the other one a different color, just so you guys can see. So I'll make this one blue, and then I'll make this one green. Okay, so let's graph our green one first. Where am I here? Okay, so first things first is my y-intercept is at 8. So my y-intercept is at 8. So 8 is right here. This is my y-axis. So 8 is right there. Now my slope. Well, my slope, excuse me, is -1. Remember, slope is rise over run. So -1 over 1. So my rise is -1. My run is 1. So because my rise is -1, I'm going to go down 1. And then my run is 1, so I'm going to go to the right 1. So there's my point. Now, if I kept doing that, so down 1, over 1, there's my other point. So my equation, or my line, is going to, where am I here? Right there. Green. So if I draw my line, it's going to go through all those points right there. Okay? I did my best. Right there. All right, so that is my first equation. My second one, so for blue, my y-intercept is -7. So -7 is all the way down here. And my slope is 3/2. So rise, which is 3. So rise 3, 1, 2, 3, run 2, 1, 2. I went to the right because it's positive. Again, if I do the same thing, rise 3, 1, 2, 3, run 2, 1, 2. So this is where my line's going to go through. I just did 2 points because or I guess 3 points with the y-intercept. Just makes it easier to draw the line. So if I make this blue and I go through, and I should probably extend that, and I go through, there we are. Now you can see where our solution is. Our solution is right where they intersect, and that is at points. So if I write solution to this system, and I'm just going to make the writing a little smaller here. Solution to this system is 6, 2. And that's it. That's all you got to do to find systems of equations graphically.